The Articles of Confederation weren't very good. They gave the states far too many rights and forgot to give Congress anything, essentially leading to a disorganized and underpowered government that couldn't even tax its subjects and had to borrow money from the states. So we got rid of it and replaced it with the Constitution, which still more or less works to this day. But still, why were the Articles of the way they are? Well, most of it can be explained with events from the U.S. Revolution. So come with me as I go over 3 of the weird things these documents caused. The first thing I want to go over is one I already mentioned. Congress's inability to tax, or in other words, inability to raise funds. This was done in reaction to the Tea Act and the Stamp Act, where the British needed funds to pay the debt the French-Indian War caused. And since the war was fought over the colonies, they decided to have them pay for it by raising taxes on stuff like tea and newspapers, with the side objective to bankrupt local businesses is for these goods, so everyone used the ones that made the Brits money. The colonists, because they didn't get the ability to at least try to make it not go into effect, were quite perturbed. So annoyed, they started protesting it, and 4 years later, when writing the Articles of Confederation, made the states the only power in the now United States that could tax people. The next odd thing they made exclusively a state thing is training and making the army, which might have been caused by the Boston Massacre. After the French-Indian War, the French, the natives, and the colonists were all quite peeved and giving the Brits a good reason to send the army to keep the peace. They did the exact opposite. The militants stationed in Boston and the Bostonians stationed in Boston got into a huge fight, with the Bostonians throwing snowballs, rocks, even oysters at the redcoats, while the Bostonians might have been the first to start getting violent. Private Hugh Montgomery of the British took it from 1 to 999 by shooting his rifle in response to a snowball hitting him right on the noggin, leading to his fellow soldiers thinking, oh crud, we have to start shooting, leading to 5 dead Massachusettsians. This outraged the colonists for pretty obvious reasons, and so after giving the Brits a taste of lead, they made it so that Congress couldn't raise an army, instead had the states do that so that Warren G. Harding couldn't cause the second Boston Massacre. Finally, the thing that made the Articles worth less than the ink used to write it, alongside giving the states any power that they didn't give Congress, the states can veto anything Congress tries to do if 5 other states agreed with them. This fundamentally flawed function of the Articles of Confederation can trace its rotten roots back to the intolerable acts of the British. After the Tea Acts mentioned previously, a bunch of people decided that, to send Parliament a message, they'd throw $300 dues of tea into Boston Harbor. This teed off the British, and so in retaliation, they made an example of us. Boston Harbor was closed, Massachusetts' charter was revoked, town meetings were suspended, British lobsters that committed crimes were unable to be tried in Massachusetts courts. They wanted the other colonies to know, if you try us, we will take everything from you. But instead, the message the other colonies got was, well, I'm a stinky jerk, we'll take your rights if you call me names, well. So instead, they started the American Revolution. And after they finished the American Revolution, they made the government unable to be vetoed, so James Buchanan couldn't make Oklahoma just more Texas because he didn't like them. The Articles of Confederation were an overcorrection, going from a government where the will of one person directly affected thousands, to a government that was powerless to exert its law upon the land. Almost every single article can be directly traced to a grievance the colonists had to their governance. However, one thing I could see being brought forward from the articles and being fairly effective is that the states control and organize the military. As while it was ineffective and ill-advised at the time, it could help with the bloated military budget of today, as each individual state would have a smaller and less costly military, and the central government wouldn't directly fund it, allowing for the money currently sent and to be put in different sectors. Alongside the fact that the U.S. doesn't need an especially powerful army due to being in an extremely defensible position.